Hello and welcome back to another edition of the GSMC College Football Podcast, presented to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Today is Thursday, May 1st. Happy start of May, everybody. Spring's starting to come to an end. Hopefully, we'll see, though. Got a good show for you today, I think. Gonna go over some more of the Bill Belichick UNC saga. What's happening here? Really just interesting situation. Also going to talk a little bit about Texas and their roster. Could it actually cost $35 to $40 million for this team this upcoming year? We're going to dive into that. Also going to talk a little bit about some guys replacing first-round draft picks. I did do a segment similar to this last week, but going to talk about some other guys and some different programs. As well as we're going to talk a little bit about the 2026 NFL quarterback class, preview that early, talk about some of the big guys that could maybe be first rounders or face the franchise quarterback type guys. Make sure you stick around for my last segment. I'm going to go over what a potential college football super league could maybe look like. So before I get into all of that, though, I just want to remind everyone, this show is all about you. We love hearing your comments, questions, opinions, insights. We want to make this as interactive, as exciting as possible. One easy way to ensure that your comment gets on the air, gets read, is to use the Super Chat feature. To do that, you click the $sign at the bottom of the chat box, type in your comment question there. This ensures that your comment gets on the air. It's also just a great way to support our channel and support what we're doing here at GSMC. We're so grateful to have you all as a part of our community here. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with Bill Belichick right now. So, obviously, we heard about this whole CBS segment from Sunday where he went on air, and he just released a statement yesterday after kind of this backlash has come out against him and his girlfriend, Jordon Hudson. He released a statement, and basically the statement said that he agreed to speak with CBS, and he claimed that it was agreed upon that they would focus solely on the book and its contents. And he said that there were multiple times where CBS tried to steer the conversation in a different direction, into different topics. He said that after this happened several times, that's when Jordon stepped in and reiterated that this is supposed to be about the book. And then he also said that we've been open about the fact that we met on a plane ride to Palm Beach in 2021. He said that the final 8 minutes segment didn't reflect the entire 35-minute production, which had a wide range of topics. And he kind of said that it was selectively edited to suggest a false narrative, was the actual quote. And then ended by saying that's simply not true. Well, okay, so you have that statement come out. Then on the flip side, you go to what CBS said. CBS released their own statement. CBS goes, when we agreed to speak with Mr. Belichick, it was for a wide-ranging interview. There were no preconditions or limitations to this conversation. This was confirmed repeatedly with his publisher before the interview took place and after it was completed. And to be fair, his publisher, also Inkwell Management, they released a statement as well. A lot of statements going on. The Inkwell Management said that this segment, quote, resulted in a raft of hostile social media posts and about his personal life. Okay, yes it did, right? There's no denying that the CBS segment kind of shed a negative light on Bill Belichick, and his relationship with Jordon Hudson, kind of her role in everything that's going on. Jordon Hudson isn't in the opening statements or acknowledgments of the book, but he does thank her in his closing acknowledgments. He referenced her as his, quote, idea mill and, quote, creative muse. On one of the last pages, a copy had been acquired by The Athletic. This is how we know this. But going back to the CBS interview, so when he was asked about, their relationship, she stepped in and said, we're not going to answer that. Well, so reportedly, this was not the only time that she stepped in during this 35-minute interview. Reportedly, she said that she stepped in multiple times and kind of said that we're not going to talk about this. She was, quote, reiterating the point and refocusing the discussion. Well, yes and no, right? Yeah, you are stepping in here. You are kind of saying, we're not going to talk about this. But this also is just making Bill Belichick look really bad, I think. Kind of embarrassing on TV, on CBS, and just, right, even the questions he was asked, and he didn't really have solid answers. There weren't, like, any hardball questions. These were toss-ups that he could just easily have answered right away. And yet, it kind of seemed like he was stumbling over his words. He wasn't really sure what to answer. Mind you, this is the, most accomplished NFL head coach ever, right? He's been working in the NFL for 35 years. One of his big things was always preparation. He wants to be prepared. That was always kind of the Patriot way, the Belichick way. He is planned out, prepared, can execute right away. It's multiple steps, and that's not what we're seeing right now at all from Bill Belichick. It's pretty crazy, and I think a lot of this has to do with Jordon Hudson's kind of background role here, and she's seemingly stepped into almost a right-hand man type of role where she's managing a lot of what Bill Belichick's doing, kind of like a PR person, but also just a lot of different aspects here. And so when you look at her LinkedIn, right, she's listed as the Chief Operating Officer of Belichick Productions and then the founder and CEO of Trouble Cub Enterprises. And according to the Raleigh News and Observer, Trouble Cub is a holding company for a complex portfolio of businesses across a wide range of industries: cosmetics, real estate, media production, merchandising, creative consultation, all of that, right? But nowhere is this related to sports. None of her experience, none of her job experience. She's got a philosophy degree from Bridgewater State. So this isn't somebody that's has a career in media, in PR. And for Bill Belichick, right, you're one of the best coaches ever. You're entering a new role, and you're going to rely on somebody that really doesn't have a lot of experience, especially in the world of sports. Even if she does have media kind of PR experience a little bit on social media, that's not a big translation to what her role has kind of become at North Carolina. It's really interesting because this is not what we've seen here. And honestly, in hindsight, if you look back, it makes a lot of sense that he really didn't say a lot throughout his Patriots tenure, throughout all these controversial issues, right? Deflategate, just a bunch of different stuff that happened in New England during that time. He always said as little as possible. And honestly, the more he kind of comes in the spotlight, the more it looks like he's kind of whiny, a little complaining. It just seems like a completely different guy. And he's become the distraction that he used to try to avoid all the time in New England when he was the head coach there. Obviously, this is all in the off season. We haven't even seen what he can do when running that program as an actual football team. We don't know what they're going to look like on the field. Will they be successful? Will they not? I think if he wins, it doesn't really matter, right? This is a non-story then. If Bill Belichick is successful at Chapel Hill, all of this doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to come back and say, oh, well, yeah, your girlfriend's kind of controlling your media appearance, image. That's not going to be the case if they win, right? But if they start losing, if they start struggling, this is going to become a bigger and bigger story of Jordon Hudson's influence on what's happening with Bill Belichick. Obviously, we heard the report that he requested for her to be CC'd on a bunch of emails. And then I also thought one of the interesting points that happened was when Steve Belichick got hired as the defensive coordinator at North Carolina. She emailed a bunch of the school's PR people and stuff and advised them against announcing that Steve Belichick was the son of Bill. She said, due to nepotism, blah, 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 right? We all know that Steve Belichick is the son of Bill. Obviously he's had a successful career as a college coach, as an NFL coach. He was at Washington before as a DC. He worked on his dad's staff with the Patriots for a long time. Yes, he's an accomplished coach, but we all know that he's Bill Belichick's son. Why do you need to not say that? I mean, yes, I guess you could claim nepotism, but he is a good coach in his own right. That's not something I think that needed to be kind of worked around. Like, we all know that. I just thought this was interesting. She also told the school to not use pictures of those two together, again, as a way to combat nepotism claims. But, again, I don't really think that's that big of a deal, right? We know that they've worked together for a long time. Honestly, I would love to have pictures of the two of them if I was North Carolina. You put them in a post together, makes a lot of sense. But for some reason, she didn't want to do that. It just seems like this is not the Bill Belichick that we're used to seeing from his time with the Patriots, and honestly, kind of similar to Deion Sanders in 2023 when he arrived at Colorado, right? I don't know if they consciously did this, but basically, Deion, when he got there, there's a bunch of chaos around him, and he just stands tall throughout it all, and basically, he's like, doesn't matter what they're saying about you, they're still talking about you. I don't know if Belichick and Hudson kind of had the same mindset, but that's pretty much how this situation is playing out, right? They are a big talking point right now. People are talking about North Carolina. Honestly, when's the last time you heard people talking about North Carolina football this much? So yes, this is a negative story, but it's still getting attention on that Tar Heel program. It's still getting eyes to them, right? And then it's kind of like you're speaking the language of this new NIL era college football player, right? More attention equals more money. So they can have that pitch to, especially in-state recruits, right? Hey, look at us compared to Wake Forest, compared to NC State. We have a lot more eyeballs on us. There's a lot more attention. There's more national spotlight. You want to be successful, you want to make money, you come play for us at Chapel Hill. You become a Tar Heel, especially for the North Carolina kids, right? If you're going to stay in state, would you rather go to Wake Forest, who hasn't really been talked about in a long time, or would you go to North Carolina, who, despite it being a negative conversation right now, is still a big topic in the national media? I know I would rather go to Chapel Hill and play for a team that's covered a lot more nationally. I could potentially have eyeballs on me. I can have more exposure as a player, as a guy looking to get more lucrative NIL deals. I would do that for sure if I was in that situation. So kind of similar to Deion in that aspect, but I just think it's going to be interesting how this whole thing plays out. The biggest part is going to be, will he actually win football games? Because if he does, all of this doesn't matter. If he doesn't, this becomes a much bigger story and issue for North Carolina. So right now we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, going to talk a little bit about Texas and how much could their roster actually cost? We'll get into it on the GSMC College Football Podcast.